So the system doesn't allow everybody to be rich.
Yeah.
So only, let's say, 15% or 20% are going to be like quote unquote rich, or maybe less than that.
Yeah.
So what are we saying to that 80% of people that are not rich?
It's their fault.
It's their fault. But when the system, by definition, doesn't allow it,
So
because inflation will go up, people will charge more if you're able to spend more.
Yeah. So there needs to be people that are poor.
By definition.
By definition.
Like that's what it is.
Because being rich is relative. Someone who made 40,000 back in the 50s or 60s would be considered upper middle class, or even maybe lower upper class.
Right.
Someone who makes 40,000 now would be considered lower class or lower middle class.
Right. And what I think is, like, there's a structural inequality that people don't think about when they're saying this stuff.
Yeah.
Behind that routine of like, wake up, do this, study that, do that.
It's not that simple.
It's not that simple, because the person who's doing those things has advantages that you don't have.
Exactly.
Like, let's say you have a very successful 2-parent household.
Yeah.
Doing that for you is going to be significantly easier because you're likely to have less trauma.
Not to mention, when you have, for example, if you come home and your house and your parents are two well-educated people with bachelor's degrees or above,
right.
They've already learned from the lessons of their life to pass on to you.
Right.
So something that you might have learned about responsibilities and etc. at 7 years old, someone who didn't have that, like, we came from the hood.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We've been able to get our bachelor's degree and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of life lessons that we learned later on in life after having made the mistakes ourselves.
Absolutely.
But if you have parents who have made those mistakes earlier on because they went to university, they learned the studying techniques that you need to have.
They had the networks already.
They had the networks that, okay, you're in high school, you want to become a doctor? Hey, my friend's a doctor.
Exactly.
I'll get you into their lab. I'll get you into their clinic.
Right.
Boom.
You're really interested in art? Oh, I know this great artist. You should do a summer internship with them.
Exactly.
Those doors are already open.
Yeah.
Here's another statistic for everybody. But I might butcher this, but maybe this is wrong even. But this is what I remember. Like, a white child by the age of, I can't remember the number, let's say 4, whatever it is, will have heard, or before going into school, before first grade or kindergarten, will have heard 1 million more words than the black child.
Yeah. So
just because the parent has the wherewithal, has the education, has the systems, has their own parents that read to them.
Yeah.
So what does that advantage of seeing all those words early on do? And how does that advantage compile and stack and accumulate over a person's 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year life?
Not to mention, a lot of the things when you're looking for jobs or you're writing in universities, how well you're performing is based off of your communication skills.
100%.
And if you have parents when you're younger who's reading to you on a nightly basis, bedtime stories,
yeah,
or parents who are always present and stuff like that, I'm sorry, but your communication skills early on already puts you at an advantage. And if you want to go on anecdotes or like metaphors or a simile, imagining a race, right?
Yeah.
You have some people who might have already finished the crossing line before starting, and then you have people, not only are they starting at the starting line, but they've already been shot in the foot.
I heard this great Monopoly analogy.
Yeah.
So Monopoly is, the game. Everybody knows the game, whatever. Some people that you're competing against or that are giving this advice already have a property on Park Place, already have houses built on Boardwalk and Park Place. Maybe they have the red pieces as well. And you're still going around collecting 200.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes the scale so devastating is it's just not your lifetime. It's like grandparents and grandparents and grandparents' lifetimes. And that's just stacking up to create this huge advantage.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's impossible to be poor. No, to be rich. No, it's not. We've seen people do it. Outliers.
Yeah.
People try to legislate for outliers.
Yeah. It's crazy that considering an outlier as the baseline and then pinning it on everyone else doesn't make sense. Okay, so then I can go around and asking everyone, hey, why aren't you a neurosurgeon? Right. Why aren't you Elon Musk?
Right.
Right? Because it's your choice not to be Elon Musk.
So then the question becomes, though, I guess I understand why people do that.
Yeah.
If you didn't do that, are you just saying you are destined to be where you are? People need to feel that, even if it's placebo, that empowerment, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, what's the alternative thing that we say?
I guess the resiliency, I think, is one of the biggest factors, you know? And I think it really, it's situational, circumstantial, and a lot of it has to do at the current economy that you're in, right? Like I think you mentioned something about Warren Buffett being how he himself said
Yeah.
he was lucky. Like
100%. Yeah. If you want to repeat it?
yeah,
So pretty much Warren Buffett said the reason he's a billionaire is because of his luck.
Basically, most of the rich people in the United States, and probably the UK too, I mean, they would not have done quite as well if they'd been in Bangladesh or someplace like that. I mean, they may think they did it all by themselves, but the society has done an awfully lot for them. And when I was born, I was wired in a certain way. It works wonderfully in a capitalist, big capitalist society. Wouldn't work so well if, if I'd been someplace where they devalued physical, ability or whatever it may be. But I get paid off enormously. No great credit to me. I mean, I just was lucky at birth. Anybody that says I did it all myself is just kidding. I mean, they're delusional. If I'd been born, my sister's here, and she was born female, and she's just as smart as I was and everything. But
if I wasn't born in the United States, I wouldn't be a billionaire. If I wasn't born in the United States during the boom, which was like the 60s, 70s, 80s, I wouldn't be a billionaire. If I was born in the United States just 100 years earlier, maybe even 100 years later, if I was not a male, if I was a white woman, if I wasn't a white woman, if I was a minority, all of these things that stacked up in his favor. Obviously, he still worked hard. He still had the result. He did all those things. But all of those, like, fine-tuned, like, all of these things are working together in his favor that allowed that to happen. There are a lot of white guys like Warren Buffett that didn't do what Warren Buffett did. But those things helped him.
And I think that's important that, like, it's just easy to point fingers. When we're looking at, like, study after study after study, the impact of a single parent household or coming from a low SES household or coming from a
socioeconomic status.
Literally. And coming from communities where you don't have a community center or access to proper healthcare, access to proper, like, mentors. Those kinds of things add up, and to completely disregard it and say that, no, it's your fault for not being rich. You don't work hard enough.
So low effort. It's so bad advice. I mean, I don't know if it's bad advice because of the placebo thing that we talked about. But it's just not true.
It's not constructive.
I mean, but again, I struggle to think of what else you can say to somebody. Like, for you and I, we're always thinking about that context that exists, the nuance. But let's say there's this kid, and he's whatever, minority, not minority, whatever he is, he's sitting there and he's studying hard in school. And you're like, hey, buddy, you have a single mother, so the likelihood of this is much higher. You are in this zone that you live in, and because people from this zone usually end up here, that's probably where you're going to be. That would be devastating.
I think instead of saying stuff like that, the things that you expect that you would do yourself, to give it to them in a constructive manner or help build systems that allows for them to overcome those barriers.
Because failure would make that failure, I don't even want to call it failure, would make that very person believe it was all on them.
Because I think one of the issues is it's not more about equality, it's more about being equitable. You know what I mean? Like, if people are trying to look, I think there's it's always a very famous, like, metaphor where everyone's looking, trying to look over a gate, and equality would be like everyone gets 2 boxes, but someone is 6'2" and one is 5 feet tall. Giving each 2 boxes doesn't mean that they both get to see it. So I think it's important to be able to address or to acknowledge that there are specific barriers that prevents people to reaching where like a higher SES already, or even academically, Like, I had friends when we were in undergrad. Obviously, I was from low SES, but I was able to, like, overcome and get a PhD, get a good job and everything. But the idea of just like, okay, I have a midterm tomorrow, but I also have to work the night before in my part-time job because I need help to pay for the bills. Now, who's going to perform better on that exam? Someone who, like, hey, my parents are paying my tuition or dealing with everything that I need to deal with. So all they do all night is just study for 10 hours versus someone who just worked 3 or 4 hours part-time, then comes home, has to clean up, and then starts studying for like 5 hours. It's already a disadvantage there, and then to say, oh well, whatever, who cares? That
Right.
person
Pull
is-
yourself up. You know.
pull
what I mean?
yourself up. Everyone, life's not fair. Well, yeah, life's not fair. If life's not fair, then don't blame people when they can't pull
Exactly.
themselves up.
Exactly. And I think you pretty much nailed what I'm trying to get at. Like, no problem. Whatever works for you works for you. Some people will want to listen to a drill sergeant saying, "Get up, do those push-ups." If that works for you, be my guest.
Yeah,
The only problem I have is the implicit understanding that comes after when you're saying, "Okay, if I didn't do this,
yeah,
it was solely because of me,
Yeah.
my failings, my
Yeah.
inadequacy."
yeah,
And I think that's not fair.
yeah,
It would be much better to be like, "Hey, I did my best, and whatever happens, I accept it."
yeah, yeah,
I don't know if that's what people do,
yeah,
but I think that's more palatable because just by definition, everybody can't win in that sense.
yeah. Because if you want to be someone
Spiritually,
rich,
everybody can win, but
Yeah.
sort of materially, everybody can.
materialistically, we just don't live in an economy where everyone is rich. No
Right.
one,
Can't-
no country, everyone is rich.
Can't do that.
You'll always have lower class, middle class, upper class. That's
Right.
just the system that we've built, right,
Right.
over generations and generations.
Right.
But the idea that it's your fault for being in low SES all your life, I don't think that's a fair argument to make, and I think
Yeah.
it's a very privileged argument to make.
It really is.
When you look at someone and be like, hey, you're not rich because you don't work hard enough.
and then that's because the people, in my view, the people who come out with that advice most of the time don't have true empathy
yeah,
because they really cannot put themselves in that other person's shoes.
yeah,
It's like we discussed earlier, it's literally impossible
mhm,
because they only can view things from their perspective.
yeah,
And that's literally, as everybody can only truly view things from their own perspective. They put themselves in another person's shoes. Their selves was privileged their whole life.
yeah,
So you're putting a privileged self in an unprivileged shoes. You can't fathom it.
yeah,
You can't fathom what you're describing where, for one person, an exam is a luxury in which the parents facilitate an environment where you can just perform.
yeah,
And another person, it's like, I don't know what, if I fail this exam, I'm going to be like this person. Or they have all these other failures as examples in their
Mhm.
mind that they're like, oh, I don't want to be like this. It's a different world,
yeah.
you know?
Sometimes there's a choice if you're not but I don't think that should be the baseline,
Right.
saying that someone who's poor is poor because they choose to be poor.
No way.
Right? I don't think that's a fair argument to make. I
Right.
think that's an extremely nuanced position,
Right.
a nuanced topic in itself. And again, there's just so many circumstances, so many systemic barriers, which I think is the most important.
variables.
So many variables that trying to just say or pinpoint that someone is poor because of their own inadequacies is not
Yeah,
a good enough reason.
exactly.
There could be some examples where people say, oh, they just want to play games, so they don't want to go work and stuff. Fine.
Fine.
But
But
again,
even
those are
that
the-
but
well-
even that person, they're not escaping all of their pain through games because they're bad, fundamentally bad, weak people.
Yeah.
There's a story there.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you dig enough, there's a story why that person's coping in that way, and it probably goes to childhood.
Yeah.
And I know nobody wants to go down that route and explaining away every single crime through that,
Yeah.
because it's easier for us to say, oh no, that person's just a bad person.
Yeah.
But I think if you look deep enough, man, for a lot of these people, there's something going on.
Yeah.
You don't just get there for the lulls. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So I think in that regard, because when you look at a lot of people on the streets who are homeless and stuff like that, it's easy to be like, oh, that person was just drug abuser. No.
No way.
It's entirely possible. A lot of the times, these people who are homeless was abused in their home when they were younger, and
Yep.
their only option was to run away.
Yep.
And then that's how they end up on the street. And our own governments, statistically speaking, most people who end up in foster care or in those government institutions typically don't do well. They
Right.
fall out, and that's not their fault. That's a systemic problem where we want to talk about, oh, we want to educate kids, but you don't want to educate them properly, right? That's a systemic barrier that needs to be addressed appropriately for these people to excel.
That's why the discussion that you see online is very problematic.
It's very problematic, and I don't know. I don't even trust a lot of the people who are saying those kinds of stuff online,
Yeah.
because it could be like someone who isn't even excelling themselves, just trying to act like they're a part of a community that they're not a part of.
Right.
Or they purchased a YouTube thing where hey, I'm in this program I'm gonna become rich.
Right.
You gotta do the same thing too.
Right. But yeah, I think all in all, man, if we're gonna wrap it up here, I think clearly being poor isn't a choice.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things and resources if you are pointed towards them,
Yeah.
and you're cultivated and you're sort of in that space where you can overcome. Like that's the beautiful thing about living in the 21st century.
Yeah.
I feel like the upward mobility is much more than in the past.
Yeah, and much easier to become more successful.
Right. But at least
yeah.
in the past, there wasn't an illusion.
Yeah.
Like if you were poor, if you were from like a peasant class family, you weren't sitting there. Maybe you were, but you weren't sitting there saying like, "Oh, it's my fault I'm a peasant." You understood the structure that you were in.
I don't know. I kind of disagree.
You don't think
The
they
whole-
understood it?
No, I think back in medieval times,
Yeah.
the nobility and everything, they believed they were of a higher class.
No, I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying is the peasant class weren't under an illusion that there was upward mobility.
Oh, okay.
Now, like imagine a peasant was like, "Oh, if I just worked harder and harder, I would be noble."
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Of course, this is just a foregone conclusion that's not going to happen."
Yeah.
For us, there's that belief that, maybe if you strive in this way or that way, despite all of these things that other people were given and blessed with
Yeah.
that you didn't have, you think, oh, okay, maybe I could do what they did.
Yeah.
But in reality, like, you don't see that accumulated interest that they have.
Yeah.
That interest of like what we just discussed, like the parents education. How was the mom when she had a baby
Yeah.
in her stomach?
Exactly.
How's-
that in itself has a major.
All of these things that you can't see on the ledger, and you're comparing their daily routine with your daily routine
Not
and
to
thinking it's going to get you there.
Not to mention, if you think about a successful person and you want to follow their so-called ritual,
Right.
that ritual might not work for you because
100%.
how his life is or what your psychology is and stuff like that doesn't apply to you 100%. Sure,
Right.
there might be some useful things for sure,
Right.
but you gotta adapt it and not fall into this fake thing that, oh, if I follow this guy and do everything that this person does, I'm gonna be rich. No,
Exactly.
that's just not. That's not.
Not to mention, you
factual.
don't have their nervous system or their stress tolerance either.
Exactly.
So there's that. What I think what we're saying here is there's so many factors that go into poverty, that go into wealth, that go into all these things.
Yeah.
That like, it's not only a person's effort or
Yeah.
work or even talent.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes somebody's talent is so
Yeah.
overwhelming,
That's
like LeBron
different.
James.
Yeah.
But that's the outlier, and you can't be pointing to him and saying, "Hey, this is the
Hey,
reason why."
why isn't it all NBA stars like LeBron James?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And even within that group, all those men are top 0.1%.
Exactly.
Right. So maybe we leave it there. That was a good rant, I think.
I
for
think that was a good rant.
I don't know how long did we go for.